I guess we'll start things off by drama posting, and I don't want to do this, but you know when you see a take on the internet that is so nightmarishly bad, it sends you into a spiral where you start going, man, how bad can it get? Guys, we gotta talk about Brianna Wu today. God, I really want to send all of my energy at the right-wing conspiracy nutjobs that are doing stuff at the Republican National Convention right now, and I want to focus energy on Project 2025. And that energy will be focused there, but, God, this thing is bad, and we'll talk about why it is bad. But first, let's get into the fan art section. Of course, this one is from Brittle of Lightning. It's Rhino saying everything's happening, and I guess that's an autistic version of me saying nod, nod. And then God, you know, I'm an Undertale fan, so I get this joke. I do get this joke on a deep personal level, and it makes me upset. Boy. As always, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at what I wanted to bring up. Now, before I bring this up, there's two ways that I could start this particular segment. There's the way that I've been asked to start this, and then there's the way that I wanted to start this. I think that the way I wanted to start it may not be the best way to do so. So when I get to the take that was the reason for me making this video, I will let you guys know. But until then, well, let's get into things. So here is Brianna Wu. Now, who is Brianna Wu? Brianna Wu is a liberal, not really a content creator, but definitely a very vocal person on the internet. And I've been in group chats with her before. So at one point, I probably would have considered her, if not a friend, something similarly adjacent to one, I guess is probably the best way to put it. There's really no other way to put it besides that, though. Like, friend adjacent. The most we've ever done outside of being friend adjacent-ish was we were in a group chat and there was some political take they made about effective political action, and I agreed with it. And I said, hey, would you be willing to say that again, but like not in type form in a video so that I can use it at the beginning of a video? And she said yes, and then never made anything on it. To be fair, there were medical issues involved. It's not necessarily Brianna's fault. But this take is interesting to me. Brianna going, real talk, I think a lot of people would have a better opinion of trans people if trans people on social media were not so consistently mean, condescending, and abusive. This is a very interesting take. I wonder why so many trans people on social media end up being mean and abusive. Well, one, social media just lends itself to people being mean and abusive in the first place. Secondly, Brianna, you of all people should know, this is because people on social media get bullied all the fucking time. Trans people constantly feel like they are in fear of all of their shit being taken away from them. Their HRT, their human rights, their ability to go out in public. They're in constant fear of this, and so people who decide to throw a bunch of slurs at them on the internet, they tend to react a certain way. Now, when somebody is very abrasive towards a trans person on the internet, what that person may not realize is they are probably person number 45 that day who has decided to be a dick to them on the internet. So when the trans person responds, like 45 people have attacked them on the internet that day, we shouldn't really be surprised. This is an oppressed minority group, after all. Something that Brianna Wu should be very aware of. We'll get into why later. But this is not the post that made me want to make this video. This is not the post that made me want to make this video either, but it's an interesting one too. This is Brianna saying, I didn't even know what a pogrom was before October 7th. For those who don't know, a pogrom is an organized massacre of a particular ethnic group. in particular that of Jewish people in Russia or Eastern Europe. So, like, pogrom is one of the things that happens at the end of the stages of a Holocaust. So she says, I didn't even know what a pogrom was before October 7th. Now expect them to break out in America any second now. It's so damned obvious, but you have to understand well-being people just don't know about this stuff. What kind of ethnic cleansing is going to be happening here? What kind of ethnic cleansing are we going to be doing here? Which one? Oh, Titan Uranus did actually bring up one of the good takes that Brianna Wu had, the infinite leftism take, the purity testing problem of leftism that happens on the internet. Let me see if I can actually pull up this take real quick. If I can't, then I'll drop it. But here we go. This was actually a good take by Brianna, so I do want to bring it up a little bit if this is the one explaining it here. The problem with infinite leftism is it's rooted in morality and not a desire to pass any policy. So a common sense leftist position spirals to infinitely more leftist positions. You can never step off the infinity spiral without being deemed problematic. An example that she gives here is we should lower housing costs. Actually, we should rezone all cities to be walkable and stop sprawl. Actually, owning property is capitalism, so we should end private property. Actually, degrowth policies are needed to stop climate change and allow the third world. And the irony is infinite leftism. The irony in infinite leftism is there's no point you can dig into a policy and start working to implement it because it can never be left enough to get consensus. Now, I want to agree with this take because it is kind of a good take. It is one of the problems with lefties on the internet who are not pragmatically brained, who spend more of their time figuring out how they can be the purest possible anti-capitalist and not actually try to figure out how the fuck we are going to get there. Like, none of the actual conversation about how we are going to go from point A to point B ever happens. They're worried about point Z or W or Y way down there and going, if it doesn't get us there, then what are we doing? Turns out there are plenty of micro steps that we have to take. This is part of the democratic process, and it's good to point out that these small steps need to happen. Even if they are not full-on solutions to a problem, they are still steps in favor of getting us to that problem. And some of the most useless people on the internet are the ones that will tell you that if something is not left enough for them, then it will never be enough for them. Bragwin, thank you for resubscribing with Prime. Zoe Storm, thank you for the OWO. An example of this is somebody who says that they will not vote for Joe Biden to stop Trump from coming in because he's not left enough for them. I agree, Biden's not left enough for me either, but there is a huge problem with that particular position. It is just opening the doors for Donald Trump to take away more rights. The fact that the person you have available isn't left enough for you opens the doors for somebody who is farther right to push the Overton window further right. And then this creates another compounding problem, where as the Overton window pushes further right, suddenly positions that are closer and closer to the center start looking like fucking leftist positions. So these become the positions of the Democratic moderate. And then those positions will obviously not be left enough for a lot of people on the internet, and suddenly they've got a whole bunch of people saying, after we're done with the conservatives, we should kill the liberals. Not realizing that we're all on the same fucking planet trying to get the same things, and most progressive policies are wonderful steps in the right direction, and looking at them as such is a good thing. Anyway, that's the infinite leftism take. There's my bit of sometimes something Brianna says isn't stupid. However, on this one, I'm just curious which ethnic cleansing is supposed to be happening soon. Which one? If we're talking about trans people, yes, there is an active attempt to further along a trans genocide in the United States, but I do believe as well that conservatives will never quite get to the point of ethnic cleansing of trans people. Mainly because getting to that exact point would be really bad for PR. Like, incredibly fucking bad for public relations on any way, shit, period. Not that they don't want that to happen. Not that they don't want the ninth stage of a genocide to happen. I'm 100% convinced that Republicans will try to teeter on that 8th step for as long as humanly possible, because that allows them to get votes. It's like what happened with abortion, right? Republicans got abortion, they got that, and now that they've got their toy, they don't know what to do with their toy anymore. One of the main things that they try to fight on policy-wise over and over again, they've got. So what the fuck do they do now? Get rid of gay marriage? Yeah, some of them have tried. Anyway, here's the actual post that made me want to do this video. Had this post not happened, I would not be here talking about Brianna. I would be willing to do the same thing that I normally do in these situations, where I sit back and go, well, that's a friendship that I'm not going to have, and I'm fine losing that anyway. Again, me and Brianna were never friends, per se. Acquaintances in the same group chat, maybe, but not friends. But here's Brianna's take. This is going to be an unpopular opinion. I think that teachers should alert parents if their kids are trans at school. California's law is bad. The trans community can't have it both ways. That being trans is a healthcare issue that can cause suicide, and that minors need healthcare access before puberty does lifelong damage, but also it's none of the parents' business. These two are mutually exclusive attitudes, and to me, getting those kids psychological care is the higher priority. I was a queer kid with a crazy right-wing parent in school who disowned me the second I came out. I do understand the risk, but the school is aware. If the school is aware of the situation, they should be state resources and CPS if the child ends up homeless or abused. No. No, 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 no. No, Brianna, you're a fucking idiot. First of all, let's go ahead and get one thing out of the way. Brianna is paranoid about something. Something that I watch her get fucking paranoid about in our group chats, and I'm gonna talk about that right now. If anybody in the group chat that I was in with Brianna even mentioned even a little bit, even a small iota of a sniff that Brianna might be trans, she freaked the fuck out. Constantly about that, going, no, nobody talk about my hairline, nobody talk about this, nobody talk about this thing, I need it to be, I'm trying to be under the radar. Brianna, did you know that this position of yours is mutually exclusive to you trying to keep yourself in the under the radar? Sorry, Brianna, sorry. You can't say we should be outing minors to abusive parents while also freaking out to your friends, or, you know, at least people you're in a group chat with, because somebody mentioned something about a hair surgery you had one time, and that gets you completely flipping your shit because now suddenly some people on Twitter might think you're trans because of that. Brianna, you can't do that. I'm sorry. I have zero respect for this position held at the same point as the other position. Now, here's the fun thing about this stupid pandering to every conservative idiot on the internet position, Brianna. It can be true that a child should have access to medical resources early, and it also be true that in terms of that child's safety, maybe there are some situations where them being in the closet a little longer so their parents don't abuse them, and CPS doesn't have to get involved and get them sent into an even more ridiculously broken adoption system. Maybe it's a good idea to try to keep kids as safe as possible. There is a position that allows for us to accept that a trans kid is someone that needs psychological and medical intervention. However, if they are with an abusive parent, sometimes the lesser of the two evils is the kid taking their personal safety into account more than anything. This is such a ridiculously horrible take, and this leads directly to more kids being abused, and it relies entirely on a broken as fuck system, maybe, hopefully being enough to keep those kids safe. But it won't be enough to keep them safe, because it's never been enough to keep them safe. Anybody who's done any research into child abuse at all, or, God forbid, as read A Child Called It, knows that those systems are functional at best. They do not do enough. So, Brianna, this take is the only reason I'm doing this at all. This video right here would not exist if this were not there. Also, I know from my private conversations with you that anything you say on the internet can be talked about publicly because you are a public figure. Those are your words. So, as for the inevitable, why didn't you bring this up with me? I don't know. Why didn't you bring it up to all the closeted trans kids that you just fucking failed? I don't know. As for other takes that are weird, Brianna saying that the Borg and Star Trek are basically a metaphor for progressivism. How? How is the Borg progressivism? What? I'm sorry. I'm gonna leave y'all, any of you guys who are hardcore Trekkies, in the comment section of my video. Go ahead and let me know exactly how you think this particular take exists in any world with sane people that function. J. Rodimus, thank you for the 10-bit, saying, seriously, very sick of leftists picking fights with each other or drawing lines in the sand over minutia when there are lives to save. Maybe my comic booky brain is just primed for this whole we need to put our differences aside thing, but still it feels like a no-brainer, and I really don't understand some people. Yep! The Borg, what? No, that's more corporate analogy, being a literal cog in the machine. Yeah. Yeah, it's... Yeah, Trekkies in my comment section, have at that one for me. Brianna Wu saying, yeah, political violence worked out so well for Hamas. Let's just try it at home, you absolute troglodyte. Brianna, are you aware that political violence is something that for some reason we believe is okay to happen to people when the police do it or when the government does it via the military or anything like that? That it's okay when political violence happens from the top down, but we suddenly freak the fuck out about it when it happens any other way. It's very strange. It's very strange. RIP Progressivism 2015 to 2024. Yeah, cool. Everybody loves you being an absolute doomer. It's just fantastic, isn't it? This one was interesting, saying, I'm going to wait until we know who the shooter was and what their motivation was, and not assuming anything. If they are on the left, I will obviously condemn, but what is factual is that there's been a growing culture of calling for violence on the left, and this shit needs to stop. This was in response to Hassan making a response, mind you, making a response to Tom Cotton saying anybody who gets stuck behind pro-Hamas mobs blocking traffic should take matters into their own hands to get them out of the way. So Tom Cotton, who's telling people to engage in violence to forcibly remove people from the street, is being responded to, and that's the person that Brianna Wu responds to. Brianna doesn't respond to Tom Cotton here. No. She's responding to the person saying, hey, if somebody tries to physically force you out of somewhere, here's a weapon you can make for yourself to defend yourself when somebody tries to accost you out on the fucking street. Here's the other interesting, super interesting thing for me when it comes to Brianna. Again, this is somebody that freaks the fuck out when somebody mentions a hairline surgery that would make people think that she's trans. Wow, that's got to be averaging in the 75 hertz range, and I'm hearing a lot going below 50. Typical female speaking range is 160 to 240. Androgynous is 160 to 140, though most of us dip in and out. Brianna, you're not fooling anybody by going, ah, yes, look at me. I am the greatest transvestigator of all time, and I'm going to judge other people who are trans as voices. No, Brianna, the leopards will just eat your face. I'm sorry. The leopards will just eat your fucking face. Don't worry. They'll think you're one of the good trans ones. Don't worry. They'll think you're definitely worth preserving. She thinks trans radar is real. Then, of course, here's the post that I mentioned that I was doing before. Then here's another interesting one. This one comes courtesy of Rox, saying Brianna Wu is possibly one of the most embarrassing women alive. Apparently, there was a content creator beef that was happening with Brianna and another person, where she said, I don't want to get dragged into whatever bullshit you're in with whoever. We've been friendly with each other a long time. Don't call trans women men and we're cool, but start some public shit with me and we're going to get into some gangster shit. I have no interest in a fight, but you decide where it goes from here. Brianna, you are impotent and powerless, and you get made fun of on Twitter for a living. I'm sorry, but no, you're not getting into some gangster shit with anybody on the internet. That's not fucking happening. Not really. There's a whole thing here as well trying to go over. No, this is a thing that I say because I'm from the 90s and we grew up with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. I don't care, Brianna. I don't care. I really don't. As it says, engaging in gangster shit is engaging in tax evasion. This is the way that she does interpersonal beef, I guess, for some weird reason. But the really weird one to me is, anybody remember the Aaron Green incident? Does anybody remember what happened there? So, to give a primer, Aaron Green was a 21-year-old content creator who got in a sexual relationship with somebody who was 15 years old. Do I have to explain any further what's wrong with that? Like, that's a really weird fucking thing for especially a content creator with the amount of social power that a lot of us can have over our audiences. That's super weird, right? So Brianna says, hello, I'm putting together a list of the most problematic transsexuals to do a Twitter space with, and me on Tuesday. Who should we invite? You have to have been canceled by trans Twitter to qualify, which is literally everyone. Aaron says, oh, hey, and Brianna goes, you, the known pedophile, are already on the guest list. Saying, give me more of a heads up so I'm not coming in straight from work next time. My hair was a mess. No worries. I didn't even notice you had your cam on until the stream ended. Oh, was there no video? I couldn't see your side. Nah, I didn't have my cam set up. It's just kind of weird to do a whole bunch of palling around with Aaron Reed or Aaron Green, right? This is just kind of strange. I don't know what to make of that. I figure y'all can make what you need to of that. That's really weird to me. That's really weird. And Rox actually found that kind of weird too. Imagine being the woman who goes on a pedophile's podcast to discuss the Nazi they were caught being amicable with. Very serious person. Reminder that Aaron's only defense for being 21-year-old involved with a 15-year-old high school sophomore was she would pick up the person from school to have sex with, to lie with. She was actually 16, which was technically legal in their state. Also, she can't claim innocence on this because I remember being in a group chat where we filled her in on what Aaron Green did. She knows. She went on her podcast anyway. I don't remember if that was the group chat that I was in. I don't pay as much attention to my group chats as I probably should. But anyway, remember how I mentioned the surgery thing, the hair surgery thing? So let's do the next bit of trans pick-me-ness here. Brianna Wu saying, you know what, on second thought, mocking Matt Gaetz for getting plastic surgery is a bad call. He's a bad person, but it's a bad tactic. Deleting. Okay, so when the target is a conservative guy who is a predator, that's a bad tactic. But when the target instead is Demon Mama's partner, Doe, when Brianna Wu decided to talk about Doe, this is what Brianna had to say about it. You literally have no idea what you're talking about. Why don't you stick to what you're best at? Fattening yourself up for degenerate freaks to jack off to on OnlyFans. Don't worry, the tactics are only bad when we're talking about conservative pedophiles. But if we're talking about partners of known leftist streamers who also are very involved in leftist spaces itself, then suddenly that same level of tactic is entirely applicable and okay to do for some reason. What am I supposed to do here? What am I supposed to garner from that? For what reason am I not just treating Brianna like every other fucking right-wing person or pick-me moronic trans idiots like Blair White? Why am I not treating her the exact same way? Because ostensibly she believes in the same progressive values that I do. But the way she goes about believing in those values is being a piece of shit on Twitter. So fuck it. My mouth isn't taped shut anymore on that point. I'm done. I will now treat this as entirely okay stuff to criticize. The bedfellows we make are always very, very telling. Anyways, that's it for that one. Y'all can come to your own conclusions where that's concerning. I'm gonna get very tired if I continue talking about this particular situation. The thing that got me most upset during this whole thing was, of course, this silly little tweet here about how we should just be outing trans kids to abusive parents. How that's apparently the right thing to do. I'm sorry, Brianna. No, we don't need to be outing trans kids to abusive parents. It's not a thing we should be doing. We should recognize that certain parents are kind of dangerous, and we have a broken system that we can't just reliably fall back on when we find out that those parents are abusive. I'm sorry. Fuck off. Insert end of video tagline here. Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.